The world remembers great empires for their battles, their castles, their sultans. But sometimes, the true birth of an empire is not marked by swords or banners. It is stamped in silver. Close your eyes. Imagine Anatolia in the early 14th century. Tribes wander, borders shift, the Byzantines weaken, the Seljuks collapse into fragments. And among the hills of Söğüt and Bursa, the dream of the Ottomans begins to stir. But dreams are fragile. Dreams can vanish without symbols to hold them together. Osman Bey laid the foundation. His warriors fought bravely. His name spread across valleys and mountains. But it was his son, Orhan Bey, who understood something deeper. To be remembered, to be respected, an empire must do more than fight. It must declare its existence to the world. And in that age, nothing declared power more than a coin. A coin was not just currency. It was authority in your hands. Every silver dirham carried a message. This is our land. This is our ruler. This is our faith. For centuries, Muslims and Byzantines alike understood this truth. To mint a coin was to shout to the world, "We no longer follow others. We are sovereign." So when Orhan Bey rose as the second ruler of the Ottomans, he made a decision more powerful than 1,000 victories. He would strike the first coins of his dynasty. But pause for a moment. Imagine the danger. The Seljuk Sultan still claimed overlordship, though his empire was crumbling. The Byzantine emperor still believed the frontier tribes were rebels who would fade away. If Orhan minted coins in his own name, he was not just creating money. He was challenging both worlds. Yet Orhan was not afraid. He had already taken Bursa in 1326, a city of silk and trade, a city that would become the beating heart of the early Ottomans. Now, with Bursa as his capital, Orhan's vision grew larger. A city needs law, a city needs markets, a city needs stability. And all of these depend on coinage. So the order was given. In the new mints of Bursa, silver dirhams were struck. They were small, modest, yet revolutionary. On them was inscribed, "Struck by Orhan, son of Osman." No mention of a Seljuk sultan, no bow to any overlord. Just a simple declaration. The Ottomans were now a state. Think of the impact. A trader receiving this coin knew he was in Orhan's land. A soldier paid with this silver felt the authority of his bey. A foreign merchant holding it in his palm recognized a new power rising in Anatolia. But Orhan's genius went further. These coins were not only about politics, they were about faith. On the dirhams were inscriptions of Islam, the kalima, the declaration of faith, etched beside Orhan's name. A powerful blend. Worldly authority bound to spiritual truth. It was subtle. It was brilliant. While others fought endlessly for land, Orhan Bey was fighting for legitimacy. And with a handful of silver, he achieved it. The Byzantines may have called him a warlord. The Seljuks may have dismissed him as a frontier chief. But his coins told another story. They whispered, "The Ottomans are here, and they will not vanish." Every empire begins with a symbol. For the Romans, it was the eagle. For the Byzantines, the cross. For the Ottomans, it was a small silver coin shining under the Bursa sun. And so, with the first strike of the hammer, the sound of metal echoing through the mint, the Ottoman dream took shape. A dream that would last for 600 years. But this was only the beginning. These coins were not just silver. They were seeds. Seeds that would grow into an economic system, a military machine, and an empire stretching 3 continents. What began in Orhan's mint in 1326 was about to change the destiny of the world. The hammer strikes, silver bends, sparks scatter, and with each strike, the destiny of the Ottomans hardens into reality. In the marketplace of Bursa, merchants whisper. Soldiers count their pay. Scholars examine the silver inscriptions. The news spreads quickly. Orhan Bey has minted his own coins. For the Ottomans, this was no small act. It was defiance. It was independence. Until then, the frontier tribes often used Byzantine coins for trade. Byzantine gold hyperpyra, Seljuk dirhams, even Mongol-stamped silver. Currency flowed in every direction, yet it was never their own. Every coin carried the face, the name, the authority of someone else. To use them was to accept another's power. But now Orhan Bey declared, "Our silver, our name, our rule." The design of these early dirhams was simple, but that was the beauty. On one side, the kalima, the sacred words of Islam. There is no God but Allah, and Muhammad is his messenger. On the other, the inscription, Orhan bin Osman. To the believer, this coin said, "Our state is Islamic at its core." To the traitor, it said, "Your dealings are protected under Orhan's law." To the rival, it said, "We are no longer shadows, we are sovereign." And yet, Orhan was not careless. He was deliberate. He minted silver, not gold. Why? Because silver was the coin of the people, used in markets, in villages, in caravans. Gold was wealth for the mighty. Silver was trust for the many. Orhan understood that the foundation of empire is not in palaces, but in bazaars. With these coins, he tied the hearts of his people to his rule. But the impact went even further. The Byzantine Empire watched nervously. Once, they thought of the Ottomans as raiders on horseback. But now, coins meant permanence. Coins meant administration. This was no longer a band of nomads. It was a government. And what of the Seljuks, once mighty, now a shadow of their past? Their sultans still claimed authority, but they could no longer strike fear. When Orhan's silver spread, even their own vassals began to trade in Ottoman currency. The message was clear. The age of the Seljuks was over. Step by step, coin by coin, Orhan was building a dynasty. Not just through war, but through the slow, invisible threads of economy and legitimacy. Think of a peasant farmer in Bursa selling grain. He receives a coin stamped with Orhan's name. Tomorrow, he buys tools with the same coin. A week later, that coin reaches a caravan trader heading to the Black Sea. A month later, it ends up in the markets of Constantinople. Each hand that touches it learns one truth. The Ottomans have arrived. It was the most silent conquest of all. And yet, these coins were not just about markets. They were about memory. Osman Bey, Orhan's father, left no coins in his name. His rule was marked by raids and alliances, his memory carried in songs and stories. But Orhan? He left a mark in silver that could not be erased. Centuries later, historians would uncover these dirhams and realize the genius. Here, in this modest silver piece, lies the moment the Ottomans declared themselves a state. But Orhan was not finished. These coins were the first step. Next came armies paid in Ottoman silver, mosques built under Ottoman names, laws administered under Ottoman authority. And soon, even the Byzantine cities would be ruled under the weight of these silver dirhams. For every empire, war may carve the borders, but it is coinage that carves the identity. The Ottomans would go on to mint coins for 600 years. Golden sultani, silver akça, copper mangur, all born from the decision Orhan made in Bursa. But none would ever carry the same weight as those first coins, because they were not just currency. They were the moment a tribe became a state and a dream became an empire. And as the coins spread across Anatolia, so too did the story of Orhan, the bey who was more than a warrior, the ruler who understood that an empire must live not just in the battlefield, but in the marketplace, the mosque, and the everyday hand of its people. This was the true minting of a dynasty. But what happened after? How did these coins evolve into the financial backbone of one of the greatest empires in history? And why, even today, historians look back at Orhan's silver and call it the first heartbeat of the Ottomans? The answer lies not just in economics, but in legacy. The silver dirhams of Orhan Bey were more than metal. They were memory. They were prophecy. As decades passed, the coins continued to circulate across Anatolia and beyond. They moved silently, slipping into hands that would never see Orhan himself. A farmer in Bursa, a merchant in Nicomedia, a Byzantine trader in Constantinople. Each one touched the same inscription, Orhan bin Osman. And with every exchange, the legend of the Ottomans grew stronger. For historians, these coins became the first unchallenged evidence of Ottoman sovereignty. They told the story of a ruler who did not wait for approval, who did not bow to collapsing Seljuk sultans, who dared to declare, "We are our own." But their legacy was not only political. They laid the financial backbone of an empire. With stable silver currency, soldiers could be paid regularly. This gave rise to a professional army, one that would evolve into the Janissaries. With reliable coinage, merchants felt secure. Caravans carried Ottoman silver as far as the Balkans and Black Sea, spreading Ottoman influence far beyond the battlefield. A simple dirham opened doors that swords could not. And Orhan's successors understood this power. His son, Murad I, expanded the minting system. Later sultans refined it further, introducing gold coins, known as sultani, to rival Byzantine hyperpyra and Venetian ducats. The Ottomans learned quickly. Wealth is war. War is wealth. And the coin is both. For 600 years, Ottoman currency would flow like blood through the veins of an empire. Each new sultan would stamp his own tugra, his calligraphic seal, onto the coins, an unbroken chain of authority stretching across centuries. But all of it began with Orhan. So the next time you picture the rise of the Ottomans, do not only see the clash of armies or the fall of great cities. For in that coin lies the birth of an empire. And it was Orhan Bey, the son of Osman, who struck it first.